Well, it's the bad news show today. I'm Joey, only Caribbean weather dude. Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Okay, friends. Okay, guess what? So if you are in Saskatchewan, if you're in Manitoba, you could be looking at some wind chills into the minus 40s. Pretty cold. If you're in British Columbia, perhaps a little bit of flurries here and there around the province in the next coming days. But really, we're looking at this weekend being the big snow event coming for southern British Columbia, at least, especially. So that's more or less the big stories today. East Coast is going to get hammered by a big old storm. It's just nasty out there. So it's mostly what we're here to talk about. It's the bad news show. Let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen. Get on. Wow. I'll watch the video later. They try mopping this. It's my second time trying to record today. I'm so annoyed. I hate when I go through a large recording session without realizing my microphone is on or something like that. So there's a big low that's swirling around out there, and what it's doing, as you can see, it's bringing cool air down into the prairies, sinking on down. You can see some of that motion right here. Meanwhile, on the coast, we have a counterclockwise motion coming at us. That's the low, right? And a low pressure system, and it's going to feed some cloud cover and things into the interior over the next bunch of days. Nothing too major going on. We're waiting for our next storm to come and hit us. Sure. Heavier clouds and snow and things like that up into the territories. Generally don't forecast for them too much. Unfortunately, nobody does, though. And then we have our prairie weather kind of resolving temporarily while the next one's going to start sliding right up there in a very, very near future for you as well. I like the way the warning looks today over there, actually, in the East Coast. It's got this kind of a crazy looking thing. If you, I don't know, put some evil sounding music to it, zoom in and out a bunch of times, it looks all crazy. Whoa, crazy. We got basically some rainfall warnings, freezing rain warnings, and things like that, all through southern Ontario into the Quebec side, and the special weather statement looking at significant rainfall along with above freezing temperatures on Wednesday and Thursday for some of these areas along southern Quebec, right? Damaging winds could top trees and things like that as well, right? So we're concerned the combination of high tides, strong southeasterly winds could produce breaking sea conditions in the Gaspé Peninsula, Anticosti Island, and North Shore between Port Cartier and Natasquan. Anticosti, we don't know what they're against. We don't know what a Costi is, but they are against it there. So good for you people. Just keep on your valiant fight against the Costis. We support you all. We all support you here. We're all anti-Costi too. When we figure that out, we'll know for sure. And even freezing rain, 4 to 6 hours of it until this afternoon or early evening for southern areas, which is actually northern Nova Scotia. Not for Frankie out in Sydney necessarily, but if you live on the East Coast, I would take some time and look at Environment Canada. If you're on the mainland, Newfoundland, you could be seeing 2 to 10 centimeters and maybe 2 to 10 millimeters of rain. So you can see one or the other. We don't really know. This intense storm will track across Quebec Wednesday night and Thursday. Precipitation with this system will begin as snow before transitioning through freezing rain to rain, with temperatures potentially rising in the double digits for many areas on Thursday. So gonna get warm for you guys there. Biggest impact will be freezing rain Wednesday night. It could persist for several hours in some areas. I am completely irritated about having to do all this again. So there's our low pressure system. Look how it, you can see the counterclockwise. That's what lows do. They cyclones go counterclockwise, and you can see in that motion when we come back to the beginning of this graphic that the counterclockwise motion is drawing Arctic air down. It's pulling it right down. Here you go. Ready again. Boof. Pulling that right down, bringing some of that cold air to the States. And that is more or less the story of things for the next little while. For you guys, it won't last too long. You will have a bit of a rebound, but then that rebound won't last too long either. So here's our low that I was just talking about. And you can see how the high pressure, you can see how this low is sucking that on down and bringing it, and there's that cold air, and that cold air is going all the way to the East Coast and feeding this bastard that's going to slam up into the there over the next bunch of days, right before the weekend. A little bit you can see the tiny little spots of blue here and there in BC. It's like, well, there could be some flurries and stuff on Wednesday and Thursday, but nothing too major's coming until the coast mountains, maybe a little bit more so of that, northern BC by Friday. But here's our next storm dropping real rapidly. And what I do want to say about this guy and the East Coast here is look how suddenly it says 961. Like, where did that come from? That's a bomb cyclone.
Oh, what is he just trying to scare us with the bomb cyclone word?
No, this is the behavior of the storm is doing what we refer to as a bomb cyclone. It's rapidly dropping, and that'll be very, very windy, very, very nasty. So for BC, it's our next story is really this weekend. We got snow coming in to southern BC substantially Saturday and Sunday, I would suspect, and then we have like just this pattern of one after another, after another, after another. The real big unfunny concern is this right here, and you can see that next level. So we got the purples, that the purples is cold. What's that next level in there? That next level is when you're getting towards 40. Getting towards 40 in some of these places. We do have some hopes for temperatures to hit 36 at the least, but we have that wind chill as well. And watch how that's squeezing down. Oh, Wednesday night is going to be just absolutely ridiculously cold for most of Regina, Saskatoon, probably Winnipeg, and all those kind of places through the prairies. A little bit of that spilling over into Western Ontario, sure. Some of these places like Minnesota and maybe Wisconsin going to have some moments of some of that extreme cold air. Oh, it's just brutal. And it does move out fairly quickly. I mean, those are still cold, still winter temperatures, but look at that. Bit of a rebound for you, especially for Manitoba. And then it sort of starts again pretty quickly there. It starts to go, we'll be watching that. And BC going to get cut in half at some point over the next week, like it was a number of weeks ago. You can see some of these storms out here, how the temperatures are swirling. That really gives you an idea of how the warm is pulling in and how the cold is pulling in. The two of them together is what's making the explosiveness of that storm, right? And you have more warm temperature. The ocean is warmer, and you got we know it's always going to get cold. Without sunlight in the north, it's going to get cold up there in the course of a winter. Like no climate change scenario do I have in my the lifetimes of myself or my children envision that there's not going to be winter in the Arctic. So understand what these things actually mean. But Prairie is another blast for you. But that's good. We got the active pattern of weather coming back to BC. And this is what, gets me sometimes. People are like,
well, Joey, you're just out there trying to spread fear. You're trying to spread fear. Woo, he's trying to spread fear.
Except that I want the bad weather. We want BC to not have a drought again. We want Pacific storms to pound in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep on going. Yeah, maybe there's some bad consequences occasionally. Maybe that means people get left in the dark, or some things get flooded, or people's homes get damaged occasionally. That's some of the things that could happen that we're trying to be aware of and trying to spread information about and say to you, here's the possibility, just so you know. But all in all, I want the bad weather. Hell, I love thunderstorms. Hell, the only thing about weather I don't like is extended periods of minus 30, minus 40, 2 days of it. What's going to happen in the prairies a couple days of it? I can live with that, sure. I don't like extended periods of extreme cold. That's what I don't like. So it's like, you want to talk about what makes me afraid? Living in this old 100-year-old building, what makes me afraid is minus 40 temperatures when it's happened here. We've had minus 40, 41. Back in the day, I had to go to a family court date on January 15th, 2020. And I got in the car and it wouldn't start, and the thermometer said minus 41. And I said, why do I have to go to family court today? There is no God. I hate my life. Well, and that is true. At the time, I actually did hate my life. So it was one of those. It was really bad, and it was tough. Sault Ste. Marie, some cold will be near you. Sudbury, some cold will be near you. Looking at some of that getting into Minnesota there, some of that coming into Wisconsin, a little bit of that cold. But these are extreme temperatures, and it's already right now coming towards noon, because I had to restart my forecasting here. Yeah, it's 11:10 right now on the 10th of December. At this time, though, it's pretty much the warmest you're going to see today going on. And we got 29s, 27s, and things like that, even 30s up in the far north, where they can stay. A bunch of 20s across wide swath, and it's only till you're in the further south regions of the prairies, that, unless you're in Alberta, that you're seeing some of that temperature being kind of more livable. For me, minus 5 to minus 20 is I can live with that all winter. I don't mind that weather at all. I live in the mountains. I'm used to winter weather. Now, the more that the Pacific's pounding in and keeping us from going minus 40, I'm pretty happy. Some of these temperatures coming at you tonight, and this is because you look at these isobars. Look at how what does tight isobars mean? It means wind. So you could see some wind gusts tonight in Manitoba that will give you frostbite and end your life. Look at this nice warm up that's coming over to eastern Canada. So that's what they're just talking about, into the double digits, some of that. So that low bringing that warm air the very same way that it's bringing the cold air down. This low is really helping to feed it. So this bomb cyclone dropping off, and it's helping to make things windy in the prairies, making things extremely cold, getting us into minus 30 temperatures and things like that, right? And even Newfoundland seeing very, very warm weather. I was surprised when I was in Newfoundland back 20 years ago, and I was like, wow, it's November 18th and it's 15 degrees. I couldn't believe it at the time. But still, Thursday morning, you're like at 26 below in Winnipeg. Saskatoon's still at 20 below. You can see the relief coming by noon. You can start to feel that cold air mass moving a little bit to the east of you. That should be nice for you on Thursday afternoon. So that's the big story really this week, is how extremely cold is it going to be. And there you go. You can see some of it coming down into Wisconsin, right? Green Bay, places like that. Northern Ontario starting to take some of that. Looks like bad news for you guys in the Thunder Bay. Here's our big storm still sitting up there in northern Quebec overnight Thursday, and just pulling a real bunch of cold air into those same places that were just above zero. You can see how that is wrapping around, just fully wrapping around that low. And then we can see how these low pressure and high pressure systems are the delivery mechanism, along with of course the jet stream. But these things often form the jet stream, right? These are, and you can see our jet stream is probably something like that through here, more or less. You can almost tell by the look of the storms themselves where that jet stream is probably going to be if we go up to elevation. We can maybe in a little bit, but that sort of gives us an idea for temperature over the next bunch of days. Things will moderate for you. We'll get a little better in the prairies, but unfortunately we got this bunch of cold air coming next week. This is the same sort of setup we had in the past, like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Forget what the exact date was. We could look here really quickly, but we had some, that's then when we got to that minus 16 weather here in Wells. We were really close to the Arctic air mass, but didn't just squeeze down to BC. So maybe we're looking at the same kind of thing with the active weather pattern we have on the coast. It's going to keep pounding in here. With any luck, our friends in the Peace and northern BC will get some relief, and this won't look exactly like this by next week. But I wouldn't count on it. Because it's winter. And okay, sorry, Alberta. You maybe sat out the last cold blast, but there's a good chance next weekend you won't be. But we're not going to look out too far now, because, what happens is, in my mind, a forecast is reliable in this way. 24 hours, almost exact. We're that good now. 48 hours, I'd give our forecasting a B. Maybe an A-. We're pretty good. The details will probably happen. There's going to be small print. There's going to be some I's that aren't dotted and some T's that aren't crossed. There's going to be some things that don't fully match. However, get to 3-4 days out, and say, wow, that's probably 75% accurate. You get to 5 days out, start looking 10 days out. That accuracy is like dropping way, way down really fast. Okay, so, some random flurries and things. You can kind of see where that cold air mass is sitting, right? So it's like on the edge of that cold air mass is a little bit of flurries and whatnot possible. Sure, that's here's our line of storms that's going to just basically sync up, and start to hit the East Coast pretty hard. So it's Tuesday evening. Maybe there's a bit of precipitation going, but the storm hasn't really started by then. Not quite, no. For us in BC, we're not looking at a whole lot. There's a little bit of flurries possible on Wednesday, but no, nothing major. Maybe up along the coastline into Thursday afternoon. Maybe northern BC will take a little bit by then. So we have some flurries, but I'm not seeing anything really intense in some of those snowfalls. It's not very cohesive. It's not very organized. Unlike what's coming this weekend, which is quite organized. And when we come to our next next forecast period here, our next forecast video, maybe even tomorrow or something like that, we'll probably then we'll be about that 3 to 4 days out where our accuracies are going to be really good. So it's like we might as well wait for a day or two to have much to say about this guy, because it's only Tuesday right now. But as you can tell, it's going to go in the prairies. That will moderate the temperatures for a little while. But when it does that, it'll move on through, and it will do what the last one did too. It'll start pulling that cold air down for you. So that's good for you. You can see where that cold air is. Half the province sitting like so. and the north half of the province, right? So we're really hoping for you guys that these storms can pound in hard enough that the Rocky Mountains will not protect you from them, but they will actually instead give you that precipitation, block some of that, knock some of that cold back. So we're looking at active storm pattern coming into Christmas time. There's also dinner being raised on Friday for the husband killed on his way to work at Dunkley's. So we're trying to do what we can here to help Joseline out, just because I don't know if I put my foot in my mouth, but I just think I was being insensitive, and just because I'm trying to like talk highway safety for everybody, and I didn't mean in any way to cause any pain. However, what Kenton's saying right here is disturbing to me, because his cousin lost his leg in a head-on. Going to Dunkley 2 years ago. Another person on Weather Watcher says that their nephew lost one or both of his legs. I can't seem to recall this last January. So there's something going on here, Dunkley, where a lot of your employees are having severe accidents, life-altering accidents that are killing people. Is this acceptable? At some point, you have to say, like, well, A, we got a budget problem. We got a highways department that doesn't get the budget it needs, because now that we're in a climate change reality, we're not getting just minus 15 winter settle in and stay for a long time. We're getting these big fluctuations in the winter, and what that does is it keeps the highway from freezing, and when the highway isn't frozen, the conditions on the road get worse, and we're going to have worse driving conditions despite the fact that temperatures are warmer. Does that make sense to most of you? No, he's trying to spread fear. No, I'm trying to tell you the reality of what climate change is doing, right? So you have repeat accidents on the stretch of highway that's not maintained because we refuse to accept that climate change is happening. Therefore, we can't mitigate or plan around it whatsoever as a society. We just have to keep going status quo, and everyone drive to work. So at what point, Dunkley, do you start allowing for a crew bus? Do you put the money out there to say, you know what, no more of our employees are going to get killed? And when I was shooting off from the hip the other day, I said Tolko in the video. I completely apologize for that. And it's not that any of you companies are any less guilty than the others. It's just that Dunkley is out in the middle of absolute nowhere, and people have to drive this terrible highway to get there, right? And I was talking from the heart, shooting from the hip, not from the brain at the moment that I said Tolko. Nonetheless, and I'm not blaming Dunkley for these accidents, but what I'm saying is the status quo in which we are operating under in society is dangerous, and it leads to tragedy and catastrophe for people's lives. How many times are you going to have the same accident happen again and again and again and keep blaming everybody but the employer, who has that opportunity to say, hey, it's maybe we could look at some of this. Maybe we could look at having a crew bus that's an available option for people during bad weather. Maybe we could change our times so that our shift changes aren't happening in the dark and things like that, right? I don't know what your solutions are. On Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers, there is some consternation about this. Some people decided to go and say anti-climate change things, so I just banned them from the group outright. I just don't ever want to hear anything you have to say again, because you're an idiot and you don't know anything, right? So the place climate defined by average weather over a 30-year period, Gina Birchwater says, and what we're finding now is that December was the warmest month, but in the last 30 years, it's becoming the coldest month of the year. And so
Whoa, climate change.
well, no, this isn't because December's getting colder necessarily. I mean, maybe a little bit of that, but also what's happening is Januaries are getting warmer. You're getting the January thaw more often, right? So that's going to affect the average of the temperature in January. So what we're finding now is these January thaws are becoming pretty reliable in their timing. It's like every year we seem to be having them now, seeing 10, 15 degrees in southern BC in the middle of January. And no, you're not seeing that as often in December.
I guess winter's happening now. I guess we just proved you wrong.
No, you didn't. You didn't fucking prove anything wrong, okay? Enough of your climate denial. Toxic drugs in Prince George just don't do it, friends. And people have pointed out that these same alerts are in places like Quesnel and Williams Lake, and of course they are. I mean, these drugs come from all over the world to get to here. The difference in destination between Williams Lake and Prince George is a matter of 200 and something kilometers, right? Well, it's coming from Asia or from South America or something like that, or whatever, wherever the drugs are coming from. The distance, if it's in Prince George, then you have to assume that everywhere in the north, it's not safe to be doing these drugs, okay? It's not safe anymore. And I know drugs are fun. I used to love doing drugs. I was a great alcoholic, and I partied. I played rock and roll all over Canada, and for that reason, I made friends who are party people all over, and I've watched so many of my friends die over the years, and I'm still here, and they are not, and there's no obvious reason for it. This isn't a matter of like I was smarter than they were. No, I got lucky and they didn't. Man, some consolation prize to the Blue Jays fans. I never thought that Juan Soto was coming to the Jays anyways, but at least this Philly sports fan, he's going to eat a gallon of shit now because the Juan Soto is going to go to the Mets, and that's great. Just for being a Philly sports fan, you should have to eat a bucket of shit anyways. Well, I'm out of time for today. That's all I can say, friends. It's it's already 11:30. Better start getting this edited and get it out for everybody this afternoon. And long videos always. I know I just like to talk, but it helps me to talk, everybody. And I just find that's better to make the show a show. Okay, well, hit like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go down to the GoFundMe there and leave a little something for Joseline if you can. And if you want to support this channel, I could really use some help. In fact, let's just take a second here because I have Patreon supporters and I have YouTube channel member supporters and I have direct donors who send me something, and I just want to thank all of you. And I think in the coming episodes, we'll just go through the list of some of those things once in a while. Just be like, hey, thanks to all you people who are keeping this channel going. That's really what you have done is build me up to be able to be something that you needed. Thank you. We're helping each other. Okay, that's the show. Bye, everybody. Love yous. Ciao.